I feel like I just can't get away from this map. Always with the rockiest of rivers. Boys, gals, and non-binary pals, welcome back to Age of Empires 4 action. I'm kind of getting sick of this map, but I'm definitely not getting sick of the matchups on it. We have got Jeanne D'Arc versus Japanese, and a very interesting clash here, because on one side, we have got the illustrious Poppy Paw, one of Canadia's one and true prides coming out, one of the top players by far, absolutely talented lad, a Red Bull Wolo finalist, but he's playing Jeanne D'Arc, so I know all of you are already rooting against him. But in his way, a powerhouse of this map. A civ that I actually think has been discriminating others on Rocky River. It is, of course, the one and only Japanese in the hand of Shelby TV. Now, this was exciting to me to see. I needed to feature this because I haven't cast Shelby in a while. I think we cast them back in like Season 4 when they were an up-and-comer ranked around like 200, 300. Coming in to this season, they are already sitting 36th on the leaderboard after, how long has the expansion been out? Like 3 weeks? That's pretty respectable. I'm excited to see what they can do. They have been known to stream occasionally. I don't know if they ever were trying to go pro. I think I've seen them participating in some of the things like the War Chief clubs before. It would be a really big morale booster if they could flex some victories over Poppy Paw. And I say some victories because we've got 2 games they play in a row. This is the first of the 2. We'll see how this one goes. I'm already favoring his civ choice, but I'm hoping Jeanne can surprise me because I haven't seen Jeanne on this map at all so far, right? Like, I actually don't think I've seen Jeanne outside of Himayama on any water hybrid maps. And in fairness, if we're being real about Himayama, Himayama is a water hybrid map, but I feel like I see players actually play for the pond less than like 10% of the games, right? So, curious to see what they can do. Especially considering that you don't really have any big upside as the French playing onto water, right? Like, you don't get cheaper docks, you don't get faster fishing boats. The days of having access to hulks and being the only people to have sprinkled ships in the feudal age are gone. Something that could be cool to see here, though, is the ability to build up docks and build up outposts fast with Jeanne to get an edge. Doesn't look like we're getting that, though. And I'm wondering if Shelby was paranoid that that was going to happen, because instead of going for water themselves, they're going for a fast tech up, and it is going to be the Korka Township. Now, this is a really cool play. And I think this might be a really cool play, not just on water maps for the Japanese, but for land as well against this specific civ. Can you guys guess why this build could be really good against Jeanne D'Arc? Might it be because no one goes hunter? Hunters that would actually do a lot of damage against ninjas. Hunters that would actually make for good traders versus those very expensive ninjas. Instead, you go for the Woman at Arms build, right? And if you get swarmed by ninjas, sure, you're going to get good cleaves. But if they don't swarm you, if they kind of sequentially go in a few at a time, those ninjas do substantial damage. They get bonus damage versus melee, folks. In fact, with your upgrades in place in Feudal Age, you can do, I think, 25 damage in total to Woman at Arms per hit. And then that gets, well, you negate, I believe it's 2 or 3 of that. So a lot of damage going through into the raw HP. And also, Shinobi move quick enough that they can stay in sync with Jeanne. She can't move away. Also, keep in mind, with enough of those Shinobi, you can Shinshin behind the body block retreats. And before you're like, well, you never want to surround her because she'll cleave. Someone else that's awesome with the Shinobi, but it just doesn't get mentioned in the listing because they just have so many things to detail. Shinobi heal out of combat, which means that as long as you don't just get slapped down and out by Jeanne, you can keep coming back for more. Yeah, this is what I mean, by the way. Look, literally, can disguise enemy villages, high damage versus bonus versus melee, fast move speed, low health, scouts can spot. But like, there's so many things they're already listing, they forget to put in the healing element. This is what I'm talking about, right? You get the +5 damage already with the Wakizashi against melee, which means you're doing 25 damage to Jeanne. Then you can get 2 melee techs because you've got Tatara plus the level 2. Remember, the Japanese get 4 melee techs in total. That's an insane amount of damage to put into Jeanne. Jeanne, who has, I think it's 200, was it 220 health? Plus the melee armor. But the reality of what's happening there is, even with the melee armor, you're putting through about 24 damage per strike per Shinobi. And he's going to be scaling into those Shinobi, so third one already on the way. Dock is also going to come down the center. Cool thing about going docks now, that's going to give you the fishing to afford additional Shinobi pass. And look at the reaction from Poppy Paw. He actually goes into the Hunter. Was this a reaction to the Coca? I think so. There's no way Poppy Paw didn't scout that, right? But that's unfortunate because the problem of now going into Jeanne D'Arc is you'd think that Jeanne D'Arc Hunter counters Shinobi because you see, oh, extra damage versus light melee. Great. Folks, I kind of actually doesn't. Especially if you get caught like this. Oh, villagers. Now, the only upside is they're not going to get the bonus melee damage. But the reason it doesn't, folks, is due to the Shinshin. They can gap close and they move quicker than you. And right now, the boar's adding a lot of damage in. Poppy Paw, mistakes were made. Oh, no. Oh, no, no, no. Jeanne, she's down. Villagers will try to get the snipe, but he didn't even get the XP. Oh, my God. And the Shinshin moves come in. One villager down. Second one could easily fall because this is a no wheelbarrow play out of Poppy Paw. In fact, I think that is going to be 3 villagers dead, right? If he's targeting the low one, that's another one dead. Shelby with the moves. Also, that's a buyback coming out from Jeanne. First Knight is going to hit the field. But Knights, I mean, if they get target, they don't count like you think. Shunshins are available as well. So Jeanne, unlikely to get away from this. One goes down. Second one hits the deck. Can he get the kill? Shunshin needs to be used here. Instead, just hangs around, gets the final strike, and gets away with it. Knights go down, but a worthwhile exchange for Shelby. Shelby, who, which, by the way, has already set up the docks, already has 2 fishing boats out, now has forced double death on Jeanne, killed a few villagers, and even forced the buyback of 250 gold at the 6-minute mark. Shelby, who is an unknown person to most, versus Poppy Paw, one of the GOATs of NA, one of the saviors of NA. Man, he is looking well and truly crowned right now. Right, it's going to come out. Villager should be denied on the docks. That's actually a big deal there. Interestingly, he went for the scout, but makes a lot of sense because then you can start kind of, exploiting your opponent with the spy, right? But this is really cool because if this just turns into Knights versus Shinobi, Shinobi can actually win that. I'm not even exaggerating, folks. Great use of the Shinshin to break the charge also. The reason why Shinobi can win that is because their melee damage is so high. He's already got the +1. He does 26 damage to these Knights. One Knight of which is going to go down. So nice snipe there with the TC. Dude, what a crazy opening. The first 6 minutes of this game were insane. And Poppy Paw, now is just hard locked out of Jeanne until she comes back, right? Because, he doesn't want to buy her. Right? You had to wait so much longer that it's just not worth buying now. So just let her come back naturally. But that means this whole while, Jeanne has not been getting XP. Right? Of the 8 minutes of this game, I'd say for about 4 of it, she's not been XP gathering, right? She didn't even get the ball, remember? So that's a permanent 50 XP has been removed from the map that you can't get. Now Shinobi count continues to scale again. I'm really surprised that Poppy Paw isn't trying to get into an archery range. It's really expensive at this stage, but at the same time, scaling Infinite Knights doesn't help you here. Because as long as Shelby has something to tank the charges, the Shinobi will win those fights. They're very cost-efficient traders. So Jeanne back in the mixer. A single archer to his name. XP not looking great. Interesting amount of fishing boats, by the way, from Shelby. I would say a little bit overkill going up to 6 fishing boats here. They are insanely cheap, but I guess for Shelby, they just felt like they needed a huge surge of food. I'm wondering if they're considering getting a bit greedy here and going towards Castle Age. Could just be a game-winning play. For now, though, more Shinobi on the move, and the Knights are guarding here. But, folks, if he tanks with the Scout, these Knights will lose. It's like Jeanne will be able to move over to the dock. So, unfortunately, Shelby didn't cancel this, which is kind of surprising. So now she's going to get paid for that, right? So it should be 150. So it should be 50 XP if I'm not mistaken. Shelby is so crafty, man. He's going to pull the Scout in to aggro the Knights away. You cheeky git. And now he comes in with the Shinobi. Shinshin in. A move away, but Poppy Paw, no wheelbarrow to work with. And remember what we said about these Knights. These Knights do not win, folks. Look at that damage! Dude, this unit needs to be respected. Now, if Shelby turns around and tanks the charge with the Scout, he'll kill this Knight as well. That's something to keep an eye out for. It looks like for now he's going to keep backing away. But these are super sick plays by Shelby. Great read there by Poppypaw, though. Denies the second lake from going up. So that's now a second villager being taken out. He needs to find these kills because of the losses he's experienced on land. Scout goes in with the tank. Good maneuvering there, but there should be a Divine Arrow available. So he's trying to hold it. That might be a mistake, though. Dude, the micro from Shelby here. He's going to lose the Scout. He's going to lose to Shinobi. But now the Horsemen, they just need to flood through. If they just get on top of Jeanne, she's dead. Instead, they're going to take everything out. So Cavalry going down. Good exchanges again. Poppypaw, as soon as he gets a little bit of XP, he's once again going to lose Jeanne. I mean, she's not getting away. Divine Restoration way too late. Shunshin in. Immediate snipe. And Jeanne now dead for the third time in 10 minutes. Dude, Shelby is just writing a masterclass on countering Jeanne right now. She's not having a good time. Shinobi need to be a little bit careful, though. I think you need to tank these Horsemen. There we go. Goes back in a little bit late, though. Unfortunate. It's going to move away with the Shinobi. Remember, the reason why he's throwing the Horsemen away is that the Shinobi are not easily replaceable. They come out of a single building. You can build more stables if you need more Horsemen. It's actually a really smart read by Shelby. Dude, this is so cool. So, interesting fact coming through from Bolt Action Jackson. Used to see Shelby play in the Latin America SE2 tournament. Solid player. Wonder how dedicated he is to AoE 4. This guy's been playing a lot of Age of Empires 4. We've seen a lot of Shelby on Age of Empires 4. And you know what? Like, I could believe it. And the cool thing as well is I think that actually playing a Civ like Japanese with the Koka Township build lets him thrive with that SE2 micro. I think that Shinobi are probably the most micro-intensive unit in the game right now. The flexibility and the things you can do. And my god, dude, the flexibility he's got with this comp. The Horseman going for the raid. And the damage he just done there. Even turns around for another villager. Okay. We mean business now. Shelby, once again, with about a 10 eco lead. Fishing close to drying up in this area. Needs to actually reallocate the ships here to go for that. Meanwhile, the push into his base. Looks like it did find some damage, so Shelby definitely taking a bit of a dent in return, but still has that eco lead due to the fishing. Needs to find his way into an extra pontoon. Looks like he did actually on the south side, so it's about to get another 2k food to work with down here. The archer ship now coming in is pretty bloody annoying if you are Poppypaw. It's not much damage, but it definitely adds up. He doesn't have undermesh either, so it does sting for sure. Half the damage hitting in there. Now we're adding in spears. Makes a lot of sense, right? Poppypaw is just doing this very one-dimensional, could see it in Silver League build, right? The classic, I like French Knights. So if you get into spears now, even though there's an archer in the field, this one archer is already counted. He's not having a good time. You're at a stage where you can kind of afford less efficient trades where you give more XP over just to keep her out of the game long term. There's a nice little snipe in there coming out from Poppypaw, though. He's able to claw back 2 more eco. This is 1 knight for his trouble, though. Another dock is going to be coming in, so Shelby's about to be working with a hell of a lot of food here, which is dangerous for Poppypaw, considering he's adding these 2 Raxas. The amount of speed you could get out, even maybe going into some Samurai as a follow-up to just dive into the base layer could be good. Right now, though, tanking with Jeanne is something to be careful of. I think if she's ever around half HP, there's a risk she just dies to an attack. The crazy part, by the way, is with 6 Shinobi, if you are down to about... Or 6, actually. If you're down to 120 health, you can insta-die to them with the Shunshin. So, like, you won't even get XP. And by the way, that's the type of trade you probably consider making a Shelby. Depends on the position of the Knights, right? So you need to be close enough that the Spears and Horsemen can bait the aggro, but he'll look for it. In fact, he's fishing for a kill right now. Horseman moving in. Body blocks are going to come out. Shinobi looking for that dive in. There's the Shunshin. There's the stab straight away. Jeanne brought down. Divine Restoration is not going to save her. And immediately he needs to deal with these Shinobi before he loses everything. Spearman coming out as well. So it's essentially just choose your poison. Do you want to die by Hemlock? Or do you just want to die by Acid? And right now it seems to be both. What a move coming out. And not just that. Check the add-on detail here. Shelby has just got the Daimyo coming out. That Bannerman impacts Shinobi as well. So these Shinobi hit even harder. Now hitting for 30 damage. Dude. Shelby is giving us a masterclass here. This is so sick what he's been able to do consistently for 14.5 minutes. 14.5 minutes up against arguably one of the top micro players, I'd say, in Age of Empires 4. Like, Puppy Paw is easily a top 15 player for Micro. Like, you guys remember when Puppy Paw was kind of just innovating when it came to mangonel dodges? I'd say to this day, Puppy Paw is considered the best mango dodger in the game. Yet he is getting well and truly handled right here. Shelby putting him on the leash. And shout out to Voldemar with a big boy raid. We need to see some big boy raids because right now Puppy Paw is looking like a kid who's getting disciplined. Whew. Knights can't even hang around for a single villager here. And this, folks, is getting scary. Jeanne dead for, I've lost count. Is that 4? Is it 5? I think it's 4 times now this game. She's still level 2 at 15 minutes in. Wouldn't be surprised if she's still going to be level 2 at 20. Whew. Dude, I actually love that we're seeing Bannerman with Shinobi, by the way. I think this is the first game I've got to cast where Shinobi are still present when Bannerman come out. I really hope he adds in additional Shinobi, because these units scale phenomenally with Bannerman play. They also scale with age, so whenever he reaches castle age, Shinobi are going to get an extra, I think it's 18 health and about 5 extra damage. So definitely worth using them long-term here, especially if Puppy Paw continues to refuse to counter them. It's kind of surprising that Puppy Paw still hasn't tried to counter them, right? Like, he has an archery range, but just hasn't been using it. Probably feels like he can't take a direct fight even if he had that. Instead, he gets caught out on the berries here before an outpost can go up. It's like the horsemen will be able to find one villager for their trouble. Jeanne is back up and operational. We are now going to see archers being queued up for Puppy Paw. This game is looking grim right now. Shelby does need to fix his gold, holding way too much in reserve. Could see him actually buy into Castle Age. I think it'd be a very sensible play here. We are now seeing the farm starting to come out. It's a really good time for that, by the way. The fish is going to start drying up soon, but on top of that, he got the Daimyo, which means he's got that 25% increased gathering rate on these farms. So they become quite valuable to play into. Little raid in, though. Puppy Paw. Always the multifaceted lad. We'll find a villager for his troubles. No textiles, so it's quite easy to snipe these villagers. Charging towards the gold here. Shinobi count, almost non-existent. Only 2 of them to work with now. Villagers have to run away. If he turns around with the spearman now, it's going to be an absolute massacre. And here we go. Shelby gets in with the stab. Straight away grabs them all. Villagers have to stand and fight. They literally go into A-click mode because right now, Puppy Paw's only hope of getting back into this game is off of level 3 Jeanne. And I hope to hell he just got it because it just cost him all those villagers. Not just the villagers, the knights as well. Dude, what a great read there by Shelby. Can I just emphasize, by the way, this is not easy to do what Shelby's doing. Not just the fact that he's up against one of the best players in the game. It's the fact that he's taking these trades against Jeanne D'Arc. You have to be damn well certain every trade that you commit to is worth it. Because what you're doing is you're feeding your death sentence if not. Because Jeanne will level up, she will reach that scary level 3, and then the panic begins. But there's no panic from Shelby. He snipes her again! Now, that looked insane, but guys, remember, this is double melee upgrade, and that's Hunter Jeanne. But that was still 6 spears. I think if there's ever been an example of why Jeanne Hunter specifically needs to be buffed, someone needs to clip it and ship it, because that right there is the #1 example of why Jeanne Hunter sucks. Dude, she's meant to counter this unit. She does not counter this unit whatsoever. Archer's finally there for the chase down, so Spearman will get it cleared up. And level 3 is in. So this is one hope moment for Puppy Paw. This is go. If you wait, if you hang back, if you do not play aggressively now, the game is already over. Because Shelby is on the way to Castle Age with a 22 eco edge. Jeanne D'Arc definitely could be a little bit annoying here. One upside of being the Hunter form is that you can try and harass these boats out. You do 18 damage now on the fly, but still. Just doesn't feel like it was worth it. The pain, the suffering on the way to get there. A rough game here for Puppy Paw. I imagine he was treating this as an experimental game when he went with the Archer anyway. It might have been that he thought it was a good idea to get the Archer against the Kolka Township. It would make sense. Like we said at the start of the game, it's logically you think it's the counter, but the problem is that Jeanne Hunter is way too weak. Way too inefficient. I think as a bare minimum, a very simple buff that Jeanne Hunter should probably have, the same movement speed as the Women at Arms. The fact that you can run away with the Women at Arms from Shinobi, but you cannot run away as the Hunter, is insane. Dock's now being burned, but so much food gathered and tech up now came through. Let's check the lay of the lands. It looks like we are going to get Yoroshiras being dropped in the stables, so not optimal here with that floating gate placement in that regard. But we'll still get there. Would love to see him just add one dropped into the racks as well so that he can get into either, a few samurai or even spearmen here. I think you have enough food for the time being as well, actually. So we'll see. Could drop it in the marketplace if he just wants to get some gold, but it is indeed going to be Rax play. I love the fact that he puts it in the heavily just like damaged Rax instead of the full health one that's closer. But now he needs to start moving for those relics. He needs to time it right as well because he's going to be contested by knights in the mid-map. Jeanne, meanwhile. Don't you just love that by choosing Hunter form, you get an extra unit that counters you? There's going to be a little bit of harassment coming through. You can put Yoroshiras in the marketplace. Last time I tested it, yes. I don't know if that's changed since then, but yes, you definitely could before. Pretty sure you still can. Just functions the same as a forge. It's not as broken as it sounds as well, because like the reality is that a forge costs less, right? If you go for the marketplace, you pay 100. Forges are only 50. And in terms of space, they use up less, right? So if you're looking for gold, forges are still the way to go over marketplaces. The marketplace at the time being just exists to trade across. Plenty of food to work with, wants to fix the gold. A lot of stone coming in as well, so I'm expecting Daimyo level 2 here soon instead of second TC, just because you want to set up these farms and make it worthwhile, and the food, it is dwindling, right? It's going to run out soon. You can see, in fact, Shelby is playing risky onto economy here, going for the berries on the flank. Something that's not easy to do against knights, folks. I'd actually love to see Shelby consider just going into Onimusha here. I think Onimusha is a super sick counter, even those archers on the field. One, those are feudal age archers. Two, those archers don't have as much range as your Onimusha. Time being, just happy to do the Mount Samurai plus the spears. Looks like the knights are marching south. Dude, how did Puppy Paw sense this? Did he see the short wall and get suspicious? I think he's just checking for the gold and the berries because he understands at this point the gold has to have ran out. Instead, he came looking for gold and found the food. Good raid by Puppy Paw. And good night to 7 villages stuck in no man's land. Meanwhile, the clash towards the base of Jeanne. Spearman looking in the wrong place here. Are going to start getting sniped down. Has also added in, I believe, the Samurai coming into this mixer. Yeah, so have they got the Odachi yet? If they've got the Odachi, they're scary. Okay, that hasn't come through yet. Once Odachi is in, that's going to be a counter to archers, folks. Remember, that +4 damage for Odachi is against infantry. That doesn't just mean spears, men-at-arms. That means archers, crossbows as well. Villagers also being idled out and sniped down as wave after wave comes in. Spearmen have been kited out, but the upgrade just came through. They weren't vet until now, so these knights are scared. And Puppy Paw, he was saving bank, man. He wasn't even looking to fight this long term. Instead, he wanted to age up. Now, that might be his undoing here. It just feels like wave after wave, right? Like that harassment on the other side has stalled. Puppy Paw has not moved from that area for a while now. Meanwhile, he's being harassed left, right, and center. Just feels as soon as he's recovered from run raid, another kick to the teeth comes in. And as I say that, another spot has been found. Double outpost is here, but these spearmen should be able to find some kills. Once again, spearmen, they're really scary at this stage in the game for the Japanese, right? They got the +3 damage due to 3 melee tech upgrades. So substantially more spooky than most side spears. And now the knight joining in. It's an absolute massacre. Puppy Paw just looks lost in this game right now. Dude, this is kind of crazy. It's like Puppy Paw is not an easy player to do this against, but essentially he's just being out-microed everywhere. There's just too many fires to put out for Puppy Paw. Obviously, this is, you know, a big element of this is what happened in the early game scaled into the mid-game, sure. But what Shelby has done with that mid-game has to be given due credit. This guy was smart, he was flexible, he was engaged. He didn't just look for this greedy approach. He's been playing the map wide consistently for several minutes, and it's paid off. Nice little snipe there on the Samurai. Almost cost him another knight, though. Even the villager joining in, I'm not sure that was intentional. Relics have started to be picked up, but not many right now. Only one so far for Shelby. Keep in mind, Puppy Paw still hasn't aged up, though, folks, this entire time. Oy, oy, oy. Spears. He could go for a brace and get a kill here. If he micros it right. Looks like there's just too many to deal with, though, so won't be able to get a single kill in return. So good trade there. Right now for Puppy Paw, he does have the army value heavily in his favor. In fact, double up. But that's kind of deceitful in that, sure, the army value says this, but if you think about the value of each unit, because it's Castle Age versus Feudal, I'd say you have to add on like 1,000 to Shelby's army value. Like if both armies clashed right now, I think the Knights would still win. With the healing ability, especially off cooldown, they'd annihilate. But the Spears would take a decent chunk with them. And the Springle ships are kind of weird in this calculation, I guess. Like, we actually need to remove them. Now that I realize that with double Springled adding in so much to the cost, Realistically, yes, Poppy Paw would still win a fight if he could get it right now. It would cost him about 6 knights. But that's if he can get the fight now. If the fight is heavily delayed, I'm a bit scared. Shinobi, which, by the way, did go for a second TC, so very greedy of him to do this. I don't think this was necessary either. They were in a very firm position, but this has slowed down their military escalation. More relics being picked up in the meantime. Notice Poppy Paw immediately pivots. He needs to go deny that. It's crucial that you don't let him get this free gold. You can see how desperate he is on the front side. He's almost already exhausted the second 4k gold. I don't know whether Yoroshiros have been being dropped here. Probably Forges is usually the go-to. Actually, has it been long enough for a third Yoroshiro in total? We must be, yeah. Okay, he put it in the house, so was desperate for food. Interesting, but makes a lot of sense, right? He wasn't deep in the farm transition. I think that's one lesson for this game from Shinobi. Great aggro, but I'd say, like, where he was a little bit weak, his farm transition was quite slow, right? He definitely suffered from that. Poppy Paw still on point with the micro. Does need to find more buildings to buff. I'm really surprised that he never consecrated the TC, considering he's been sitting on 2 consecration charges, right? But probably saving them for like a triple stable drop. Not sure if he can even afford that many stables, though. That would be 5 stables total for a guy who has a grand total of 35 eco units. And by the way, still no wheelbarrow. Oof. Another villager being sniped. It is literally just knights right now. I'm really hoping that Poppy Paw has a transition in mind, or this game's going to get pretty spooky for him. Dude, if he got that low enough, by the way, keep in mind Jeanne could have finished that off for 100 damage with Divine Arrow. That does work against buildings, against ships, against anything. I've actually used that to finish off buildings before. It's quite funny. Army came out. I think Shelby's jumping the gun again. He just needs to kind of bide his time, wait a little bit. It's almost like he's scared of losing the docks. Even though there's no fish there, I think for him it's more about the loss of vision that would make them more paranoid. But they're close to what they need to fight here. Samurai count is increasing. And was that the... Yeah, that was the Royal Institute. So makes a lot of sense here from Poppy Paw. The logic is that he has kind of a one clear win condition and it's not playing long here. He knows his eco is much weaker than the Japanese at this stage. So his only play to get back in this game is probably going to be Royal Bloodlines into a fight. But you need to be so fast about this. I feel like you've given a lot of time over for Shelby to scale. Samurai going in, look for that gold. Dude, are you kidding me? Look at the health bars right now. Look at the health bars! Oh, man. Is he going to get baited into it again? It looks like it's going to be a back away for the time being from Shelby. I mean, if he sends in the deflective armor knight, he can just kill this veteran knight without losing anything. Which is kind of insane to say. Spear's now coming in. No Banmen in the mixer, though, and Shelby just realized it on a delay, so that's not going to be there for the fight, but the amount of losses here in this clash. Poppy Paw, who still does not have the Royal Bloodlines, but is forced to engage. I mean, he got decent XP, but this was not worthwhile. He loses 10 knights in the blink of the eye. He might lose more because the Samurai found the villagers! Okay, I think that's it. Like, that is legit it. Poppy Paw, 28 minutes into the game. He's been losing on pocket ecos 24/7. He still doesn't have wheelbarrow. And it's not just 3 knights now. The main army's on the way. They're going to split and run for the food instead. Looks like knights are going to peel back a little bit late here. But I don't think it really matters anymore. Just so many losses adding up. Poppy Paw now a third of the size of the Japanese economy. Soon to be a quarter. Here's a thought for you folks. Poppy Paw just lost a fifth of his economy right there. Oh god, that sounds cruel to say. Here's a thought for you folks. Poppy Paw just lost a third of his economy right there. Oh no. Poppy Paw, just give it up, buddy. It was a respectful effort. There was a window, but that window has well and truly shut, and the room is heating up. What a great game. If you guys have not checked out Shelby, by the way, I believe he streams occasionally. I believe they do YouTube as well. Be sure to give them a follow. Give them a subscribe on YouTube. They definitely earned it. I mean, once again, Poppy Paw, I think most people on the list would put him top 10 right now. And the way he's been handled in this game. Now, you can argue, oh, it was the hunter choice, but let's be real. It wasn't just the hunter choice. It was the things that Shelby done in the early game to get him to this very comfortable phase. Definitely a very promising player. Excited to see what he can do. 36th on the leaderboard for a damn good reason. We just saw why.